If I were to show you this picture of this radio, how big would you think it is? You'd think it's maybe a small portable radio, reasonable carrying size. But in reality, it's this big. It's huge. This is, I believe, 19 inches wide. This is the Grundig Concertboy, Stereo Concertboy 4000. There's the label up here. Transistor 4000. Best information I can find, this is from around 1968, but I would definitely say late 60s. This has got that late 60s radio design, and Grundig just had beauty. This has the horizontal wood grain slats for the speakers. There was a black version that instead of having this wood grain wrap and horizontal speaker slats, it was all kind of black plastic. I like this better. I think I've seen one that has a silver speaker plate with shapes bulging out for two different speakers. I think this one has oval-shaped speakers. We can take a look inside in a moment. Anyway, this thing kicks ass. It's powered on. So other than just take a look inside, I haven't done anything to this, so you are just going to experience it with me, as is. Taking a quick look at it, it's missing the Grundig badge, and it's also missing the stereo badge, and it's also missing the metal plate that goes along here. I believe it has a cutout for this light indicator, which isn't working. I think this is the power indicator for the AC supply. I got it powered on there. There is a stereo indicator. Keep dreaming, keep dreaming, keep on, keep up. It's got that extra thumpy emphasis on the bass, and I believe when I was looking this up on a different Grundig radio I have, the pre-emphasis and de-emphasis used on FM was different in Germany versus North America. So on listening to a German radio in North America, you get the extra thumpy bass. So there are circuits you can change. I believe it's just a single capacitor that you can modify to change that from the 70 to 50 microseconds, or I can't even remember. Either way, it's a pre-emphasis, de-emphasis thing, but it still sounds absolutely amazing. You know what? Let's get the antenna up. This antenna is also in nice working order. Get this going as high as I can. Don't have room to fully extend it. There we go. So I'm going through the controls here. Let me find something that won't get me hit. To place the remains in a small coffin. All right, so we got talk here. So this is the mono switch. Container, and to sit with it until they could come fetch it. So that's useful if your signal is kind of fringy, and the stereo demodulation normally adds a bit more noise, so that can clear it up. Button's a little sticky. I need to clean it. I don't really know what this does. This seems to put like a low pass filter on it. I don't quite know exactly what this means, but it basically makes it kind of muffled, but still stereo. Him. Made here, play. It almost makes FM sound like AM, if I'm honest. So yeah, if anyone knows what that does, I don't know. It's got a light that is burnt out, so I'll have to fix that dial light. This is the battery indicator. So normally this is a tuning indicator when you tune around the dial. And you can check your battery status. It just tells you it's good because it's on an AC supply. Got bass. Treble. All the controls need cleaning, including the balance. The balance is really bad. So yeah, that definitely needs some work. And it has two separate tuners, or tuning controls. This one is for your FM, as I showed here. It's got your indication in megahertz, 108 down to 88. A lot of European radios did it backwards to North American, I find anyway. Usually, with a few exceptions, the ones over here were always lower to higher. But because a lot of European radios tended to be in meters, so they measured the wavelength instead of the frequency, you know, lower wavelength, higher frequency. So it would go up this way. And this one's kind of interesting because it's got German and English on it. So yeah, and it was, I'm guessing, the same model that was sold here that was sold overseas. So let's go to AM. So medium wave is what it was called over in Europe. Long wave, I don't think there's anything on that over here other than some beeps. Then medium wave, AM. And this has two shortwave bands. And then we are on UKW, which is German ultra curse. I was literally just told this and I forget. I'll put on the screen. Basically, super shortwave, which is the, shorter wave, higher frequency. It has a phono input on it, and AFC for FM tuning. So let's go to medium wave, turn up the volume. Oh yeah, I'm in the basement. Let's see what I can pick up. Wonder if this will help. So yeah, AM in the basement on this thing is, this isn't the most sensitive AM tuner that I've used. I was testing this out in the backyard and it was tuning in much better, but again, not peak AM performance. Like I have a GE Super Radio that kicks this guy's butt. This thing's all about the FM stereo. Let's see if I get any shortwave down here. I was getting shortwave outside. What are the chances I get anything down here? Now this is where these two controls go together, because as I said, there's two tuning controls. So this one's FM. This top one here is AM, but it's also shortwave. So you have long wave, medium wave, and your two shortwave bands. And then this is the band spread for shortwave. So band spread is kind of your fine tuning, right? You can tune the station well enough because having two shortwave bands is pretty tight. A lot of nicer radios will have like 4 or 5 shortwave bands because the stations will be so close together. So what the band spread does is allows you to tune in, multiple stations in this tiny little section here. Nothing on one. There's noise. Lots of those. I think those are digital. Yeah, this isn't going to pick up anything down here. Something is causing interference, and I have lots of stuff down here that could be doing it. What I'll do is I'll take this outside on a non-rainy day later on and film tuning this around to show its performance, because the shortwave actually works pretty decently on it. So let's check out the back. Got the lovely wood grain wrap on here, a couple of captive screws that will remove this whole back piece. Neat little thing, it's got the original German styling power cord. It's got this inline switch that I like. And the power plug is the same as a Telefunken radio that I have. Let's get some lights on in here again. This weird looking one. I have a Telefunken radio from the late 60s that has the exact same power cord. So, a little door on the back here. You just push there and then lift. And everything is hidden behind. We have a switch that goes between telescopic antenna, focusing black on black, telescopic antenna or external antenna. There's your external antenna connection. Here is antenna and ground for AM. And I'm assuming this might be for, I can't quite make out what that symbol is. This might be a balanced, unbalanced thing. This being balanced, this being unbalanced, because you have your earth and your antenna. And this one just has the two sides there. Loudspeaker connections. These are those, I saw on a lot of radios. There's a flat blade and then a round pin that goes in here for the two connectors for external speakers. And I guess those must work together with the internal ones, or maybe there's a switch when you push these in that disables the internal ones. You have a DIN connector, 5-pin DIN connector for either a tape or phono in, which can be switched to with the phono selection on the top here. And then you have your power switch, mains, and what does that say? Hold on, it's covered in dust. Bat. There's also a 9-volt plug here, because this actually runs on 9 volts, and I'll show you what the AC power supply inside looks like. So to open it up, just undo these thumb screws. And we're inside. You can see the driver transistors for the audio output. It's got these nice back vents for the speakers. And yeah, those are oval speakers. Beefy ones too. What does that say? 8 ohms, 2 watts. I mean, that's substantial for something of this size. So anyway, this is the power supply. It's a little gray thing that sits in here. And there's a connector. You've got 2 positives and a negative. I guess that's to prevent you from hooking it up backwards. So let's say 6 and 7.5 volts, max 400 milliamps, 9 volts, max 500? Yeah, 500. I'm looking through the camera screen. And you can select on here your voltage. So this is a multi-voltage input, multi-voltage output. Pretty cool. So this little modular piece here is, I assume, what let them sell this radio all over the world. You can see here's the telescopic antenna where it mounts on the inside. I haven't actually opened it up and looked inside. There's not I haven't had any need to. It just sort of works. And here's where we get to an unfortunate situation. There's a bit of rust on this hinge. You can see some damage on the wood, because yes, 1968, this is made out of wood. This is the battery holder. I pop this out. It's got a little plastic clip that holds it in place there. You will see damage. And this is from, of course, it's from leaking batteries. So this takes, oh, there's an extra one here. I wonder if this powered like the light and then this powered the radio. Because we've got 6 what look like D cells, which would give you the 9 volts, or a Grundig dry fit battery type 476 that I guess would fit inside there and replace the 6 batteries, and then this additional D cell. Interesting. And to get inside, you just lift this little tab, and then these come out. And yeah, I don't think this will be running on batteries anytime soon without a good cleaning. That's actually, it's hard to tell if that's corroded or if that's just copper. I think it's corroded though, but they're corroded differently. It might actually just be straight up copper that kind of looks a little off. But batteries did leak in here. If I get some light, I'll be able to see, and someone's cleaned it up pretty good. So this might work okay with just a bit of roughing up of these contacts. Taking a closer look at the speakers here, check this out. You've got 3 wires. 2 go to the winding on this large speaker, and then they share a common, and this middle one goes off with the common to something. If we take a look at the other side, we see the same thing. Interesting marker showing that the common is plus. And that goes in behind, or I guess in front of that. So there might be a tweeter sitting in front of these speakers. I'm wondering if maybe that's what that switch that I was saying kind of muffles it. I'm wondering if that switch enables and disables the tweeters. And then of course there'll be a crossover somewhere deeper in the radio. Obviously they didn't mount the crossover with the speakers here. Oh, neat. This little plastic, oh, is that oh, I was wrong. Canadian Customs in Niagara Falls, July 31st, 1973. So this could very well still be made in the late 60s, but it came to Canada in 1973. That could be it was manufactured in Germany and then brought over here and sold, or somebody immigrated to Canada from somewhere in Europe and brought this radio with them. I don't really know, but it came here in 1973. So it's at least 1973 old. Now I believe to pull this assembly out, I would have to remove the knobs on the front. And it looks like it's being mounted up there. And on the other side here, right there, with these 2 screws on top here, these 2 slotted screws. And then along the bottom here, you can kind of see just below the speaker, there's that nut on a thread. It's built onto the front of this case. So I suspect by removing this piece of plastic, it's probably mounted somewhere easy, and then getting at this and then just doing those 4 mounting points so that this can come out. I don't know if I want to do that just yet. I kind of want to just clean the controls and enjoy it. And I'm going to see if I can maybe spray some stuff in from the front. Well, I did it anyway. I took it apart. I couldn't help myself. And yes, I was correct in my assumption. You had the 2 nuts, one here and one here, and then the 2 screws on the top, except the 2 screws take this whole top assembly off. It sandwiches this top plate here to this bottom piece and sandwiches it onto here. And then the actual radio itself is just a little piece that can move around. To get at that nut there, I had to pull this little plastic piece out that holds the power supply. And to get that one out, it's got a little peg here that sits in a hole on the side, and then there's one screw that goes into it on the bottom. And then you can just pull it out. Now, interestingly, this is the light that wasn't working. The bulb is missing. And I was looking through the schematic, and it lists this as a 2307 bulb. When I look up a 2307 bulb, it doesn't seem to match what I would call a wedge socket like this. But it also lists a 2306 bulb for the FM stereo light, and that, when I Google it, matches the socket here. So either websites selling these bulbs nowadays are wrong, or maybe the schematic has a mistake. But it sounds like this is a 6 to 7 volt wedge bulb that would fit right in there. And according to the schematic, there's a resistor to drop it down under load from 9 volts. So I'm going to look. Finding old bulbs like this is really difficult because some places just want a fortune for them. The other weird thing is, it looks like this might be on all the time on AC, and then that light button is only active on battery. Yeah, this schematic is weird. 2307, when I looked that up, is not the right type of base that I'm seeing there, but this is definitely the circuit for that light. And what's kind of wacky, so this is your power switch, and this is your light switch for the light. Now, if you're running off the battery, the negative goes down here and goes through the power switch off to the circuitry, and also splices off through this resistor to the light. And the positive goes through the mains battery switch, then it goes through a switch built into that 9 volt connector on the back, and goes through down to there, and then comes out to go here. So now this is live, and this button will light this up. But if we go to the power pack goes down here directly to the light, directly, and then also splices off to this mains battery switch. So that means that light, that little red light that looks like it's also the dial light, is on all the time when this thing's plugged in. I guess that's kind of cool, but you'd think that you'd want to turn it on and off with this power switch. And I did verify with the multimeter that I do have 9 volts unloaded at this with the power off. So yeah, I'm not really sure why it's wired that way. Saw some YouTube videos of people demonstrating this, and this light turned on and off with the power switch, so that could have been a mod. Maybe it was wired differently in different regions. It looks like there's several variations of this out there. For now, I'm going to leave the bulb out. If I do find one, I might try putting it in there. It would be nice to have this thing illuminated, or have the option to illuminate it. But for now, I think I'm just going to clean the controls and put it back together. What an absolute pain in the butt it is getting that washer and nut back on there. Bah! I'm guessing that people who would work on this sort of thing would have a proper 6mm driver and not this dealio. I have a girlfriend, she is a honey. Okay, cleaned it all up. Controls are much better, though not perfect. Still a little crackly, but I doused these and, they're actually functioning. Cleaned up all the knobs. Not sure how well this will come off on camera, but they are nice and clean. Cleaned everything along top here. And I noticed something with the handle. So if you're looking directly down, you see the label for all the switches. Or if you set the handle like that, you have the labels there. Very nice. Yeah, I think it's looking real sharp. Shiny chrome's got a nice shimmer to it. Now that light on. I need to get good lighting here. So all that's left is to try this outside for tuning.
5-day forecast can be found on StarTrekOnline.com. I'm
about some spiritual things, and I don't. people. The drunk chick that won't stop talking.
John moves to 1 ball and 1 strike.
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Génial, des femmes qui ont une préoccupation.
Back to exactly 2012. But don't stop the gospel, quote a song from the church. It's called
desde San Diego y los Gigantes de San Francisco con los Mets Milwaukee y los Dodgers ganaron esa división. En la americana, la división,
they gotta do what we did. They gotta get circumcised, they gotta follow, they gotta learn the 613 commandments. And they learn of the resurrection of dead.
do Salvador.
Eu não entendi muito bem essa colocação.
Bem, até esse momento, muitos. Dia.
De microscopía. El doctor Bruno de la Torre ha hablado con Radio Praga Internacional.
The people in the stadium have been using fishing lures and holding beer cans.
Deal to beat Calgary.
Oh, you know, I feel like yeah.
Well, when we
Dad, I got the email. Why is the package all rainbow colored? I said, what? And I looked at it, and it was in that moment that it really, really hit me how this stuff is not just